Yeah, it's getting interesting in the NBA, and it's just the preseason. That's what I love. But this is, look, Jimmy Butler has stirred up the entire league. And Chiney, I got to come to you because do you think that this was planned? Do you think that it's passion? And what do you think about the move in general?
So this is it. It's one of those situations, it's not what you said, but how you said it. And clearly he was coming at guys in practice. There's a lot of disconnects. But I have personally played with people that go off in practice and have expressed their feelings, and they've had things that are out of their control. Granted, we found peaceful resolutions, and there's time. The issue here is that there's no time. The season is what? 5 days, 3 days away. So he sort of backed himself in a corner, Jimmy Butler has. But regardless, I believe, there is an issue with people going off in practice and being wrong. He's right. He's the best player on that team. He's the most competitive, and he sets over the winning balance. He understands his value. He just wants his value elsewhere.
What's the difference between him and Kobe? Remember Kobe used to go off on guys?
Number one, rings, and number two, just general overall talent. There's two things at play here. First of all, Jimmy Butler is a great player, but Jimmy Butler ain't that good. I mean, Jimmy Butler is not a Hall of Famer. And so to walk in and act as if you're necessarily... No.
That's a great point.
Jimmy Butler is an excellent basketball player, and that is the top end, and that's fine. But here's the thing. You don't go to practice and dominate because you paint yourself into the corner that's the exact opposite of what you want. They need you, which is why they're not going to deal you. And if you go off against everybody, nobody's going to want to trade for you because, you might blow things up if you don't like
Or
them.
is he making it so uncomfortable that you just can't have him there?
That's a different story, but he's so
trade.
much of a competitor, he's not going to not play if, according to him, he wants to win. So he messed himself up there and defied his own logic. It wasn't very smart.
Our other big story is Khabib-McGregor. This story dominated sports over the weekend. If you recall, there was the 4-round fight that Khabib won, and then afterwards the melee in the ring. As a result, seems like the sport's been going haywire. We've got 2 suspensions, one for McGregor, one for Khabib, both out 10 days by the Nevada Athletic Commission. Not only that, McGregor has been suspended for 30 days.
By the way, they're not fighting in the
They're not fighting in this time.
Ooh, that's a tough suspension. Now there's a hearing on October 24th. And by the way, Khabib, who also met with Putin, got the congratulations there, has now said that because the UFC has said the guys who jumped in the ring won't fight anymore, that he won't fight anymore in the UFC. Jeremy, all this turmoil, is it good for the UFC?
Yes, I think it is. It's very good for UFC whenever we're talking about it. Still 6 days after a pay-per-view event, but it was good even before the melee because at that point they had the biggest buy in the history of the sport. UFC 229, the biggest pay-per-view event ever. That's mostly about Conor McGregor. And interestingly, in terms of the business of what's going on, not only in mixed martial arts, but beyond, we're talking about 20% of those buys were for streaming.
That's amazing.
We're talking about the future. And so this fight is in many ways a watershed. And what's interesting as well is that although Conor McGregor lost, all the experts, and I'm certainly not one of the MMA experts, but all the experts will tell you that his brand is not diminished. His appeal is not diminished. And he now occupies a place in MMA that I think is analogous to what Jack Dempsey was in prize fighting almost 100 years ago, where the sport was about him growing it at a time when it's in basically like the 3rd decade of its existence. I'm talking about Marquis of Queensberry rules and prize fighting. And no matter what he does in the ring or out of the ring, he is the center of attention.
And, just briefly, what you said, I'm going to sum it up into one sentence. Everyone knew Conor McGregor before the fight. Now you have 2 people you know. You know Nurmagomedov as well. So that's a win for the sport overall.
That was impressive, even attempting to say the last name.
Sum up a sentence as a hero on this show.
There you go. I told you, I'm his millennial translator.
I just don't think that what you want out of this sport is a guy who is coming across as even more of a jerk and possibly racist and insensitive to a lot of things being your main guy. If Dana White wants to, tie himself to Conor McGregor, so be it. Plenty of people are going to pop out, as many as are popping in.
Never has a group ever been so fired up about a player as we are about Jimmy Butler.
Shout out to Tom Bell, Texas.
Top 15 player. Thank you.
Yes, top 15.
All right, let's get
in the league.
Oh my God, let's get to underreported stories. All right, I'll lead it off. The NFL a couple of years ago, the NFL had a real image problem. There were a lot of players who were getting arrested. Domestic violence was an issue. Drunk driving was an issue. Well, there was a study that came out from the USA Today this week that said arrests and citations have been down, especially since the time of that infamous Ray Rice video. Take a look. We'll show it to you. This is where it's been over the last couple of years. 71 arrests and citations back in 2006, 30 at this point this year. Domestic violence cases are down. Also, drunk driving cases are down. And part of this is We don't know exactly why, but there have been rule changes in the NFL, a lot more stricter penalties. Yep. So in many ways, this is an interesting point for the NFL. You know, they've taken a lot of hits on a lot of different areas. But
let's give them some credit.
Yes, this is an area that was a really rough one for them. They have made changes in the league, and it seems to be working out.
And if the numbers were up as much as they are down, trust me, people would be criticizing.
That's exactly right. Okay, Chiney.
Yeah, no, I think the NFL is the league that has to go through it to get to it, and they finally got to it. They ran into a wall, realized that they need to have more educational for, domestic situations programs. Mental illness is now not being as stigmatized as it was before. That helps the players. And then also, like you mentioned, the suspensions. They've increased the penalties, so now your offense is not 3-game suspension, it's probably 6. That affects your corner.
All right, let's talk heroes. Let me get to my hero. His name is Justin Gallegos. This is an incredible story. He's a young man with cerebral palsy. He is a cross-country runner. He finished a race the other day, and Nike had something very special for him. He's the first athlete with cerebral palsy to get a contract from Nike. An incredible story, incredible video, too.